Cleveland author Justin A. Reynolds found his niche writing for young adults. He's authored several books geared towards teens and preteens, including graphic novels with Marvel. His love for writing was fostered in part through participation in the longtime Ohio writing program, Power of the Pen, while he was in middle school in Elyria. Now he will address student competitors at this year's Power of the Pen State Tournament at Ashland University this week. I'm Carrie Wise for IdeaStream Public Media, and I recently spoke with Reynolds about his writing, including the dream to write professionally when the path to do so wasn't clear.
But I remember going to the library and I would kind of push the books aside. I would find like where REY would go and I would make a space there and I would say, one day, all I want is like my book to be at my local public library. And that was really almost the extent of my ambition. I just wanted to be at the local library where I had not only kind of felt like I grew there on so many levels, but also kind of had a family there. Like the librarians really took care of me and my sister. They looked after us. They gave us, of course, great recommendations. But it was really a family there, and so I kind of always wanted to pay back the magic that I felt from that place.
Well, your books are definitely at the local library now and other libraries and bookstores, etc. You write for teens and preteens. What do you like about writing for these age groups?
That wasn't always the mission initially. When I started writing and I thought about writing a book, I always kind of imagined I was going to be writing for adults. But at the time, when I was trying to really like find my own voice, what I realized is that I was kind of becoming disillusioned by like all of the products that were seemingly kind of coming out of like a lot of these MFA programs and a lot of these workshops around the country, which I recommend. I think they're great for what they do, but it just felt so almost like commercialized in this way or like assembly lined. And then it felt like it was more about like the pyrotechnics of a story. Let me impress you with either my vocabulary or sentence structure, and less about just good old fashioned storytelling. And I happened to read some young adult books, which wasn't a huge category when I was growing up, but I started happened to come across a few, and I was so impressed by the fact that not only were they sophisticated on those same levels when they needed to be, but the storytelling was just like at the focal point of the entire experience. It was about creating an entertaining experience that felt moving in so many ways. And for me, the only difference between writing for young people versus writing for adults is the age of your protagonists. Young people experience the same difficulties, the same obstacles and hurdles to overcome that we as adults do. The difference is that most of the time it's them experiencing it for the first or second time.
You were involved as a student in the writing program. It's been around for a long time, Power of the Pen. What was your experience competing with writing?
Empower the Pen, it was the first time I experienced like writing as sport. And it was just like this interesting dynamic where you had a whole bunch of kids who happened to love the same thing that I love, which was first and foremost, usually reading. And then also loved this idea of trying to like scramble to put together these thoughts and ideas from your imagination in a short amount of time, in a limited amount of time and space, all kind of stemming from the same prompt. It was just kind of a cool. It sounded like a cool experience, a cool opportunity to also like make community and to like meet people who are the same mind. And so when my seventh grade teacher, Miss Johnson, shout out to Miss Johnson, when she approached me and was like, "Hey, you should think about joining the team." I was like, "Yeah, this sounds amazing." And it was such an eye opening experience because some like writing itself is such a solitary endeavor most of the time, and how here you're like in these classrooms with other kids who are as excited to be there as you are, and there's this kind of camaraderie that's just you don't have to explain yourself to them. They understand you inherently, and it was a beautiful thing. It definitely was a big mile marker, I'd say, in like shaping the type of writer that I would become.
Now you're going to speak at this year's Power the Penn State tournament. What do you want to say to the young writers of the future?
I think the main thing is that we need your voices, we need your stories. Um, like I said, I didn't grow up um, having access to authors and storytellers and creators the way that a lot of more schools are starting to have now. And I think it was kind of a longer journey for me in the sense that I didn't have someone telling me that there was a place for my story to be told and that my story could possibly resonate with other people. And so that's kind of the message that I want to pass on to this generation, is that like your voice not only matters, it's fundamental. We truly need it. And not just from the standpoint of having a diversified world, which of course we have and we want to continue to nurture, but also just from the point of view of like seeing the value in yourself and being able to understand that your story matters, that you don't have to be, even if you were traditionally from like a marginalized community, you don't have to be the sidekick or like kind of the witty partner in crime. Like every kid deserves to be the hero of a story. And so when you decide to take the story in your own hands, you get to create those heroes. You get to create the next generation of kids who experience and see themselves not only on the cover of the book, but within the pages of the book. And so it's important to use our voices to tell those stories and to affirm that every kid's story matters.
You also write graphic novels about the new Spider Man, Miles Morales. What's it like writing superhero stories?
It was great because really that story, his story appeared first in Marvel Comics like 12 years ago. And so it's been around for a long time. So to be able to kind of get in and be able to continue that rich tradition of storytelling that Marvel has created for Miles Morales and for Spider-Man was awesome. And then the opportunity for them, when they kind of really let me run with the story and create my own villains and like my own narrative, it was awesome. And I'm like, I was surprised. I was like, oh, I get to actually create characters that will forever be within the Marvel universe. And so it was a dream come true. I think the best part has been the reaction of young fans, especially who are so excited to see this superhero kind of come in and look like them, talk like them, have the same experiences, the same fears, and having to kind of work through what it means to be a good kid and trying hard to get good grades and make everyone happy, but also trying to figure out how to use your own voice and your own power. And so I think that's a story that'll never get old. And I'm just happy that I got to kind of continue in that legacy of Spider-Man and Miles.
For your latest book that's due out in June, you've teamed up with several writers for what reads kind of like a teenage rom com. Talk a bit about House Party.
Yeah, House Party is like my ode to every teen movie that I loved growing up, which often either kind of would culminate in a large house party at the end of the film, or they were taking place at the party and you were kind of following these characters move about. And it was so cool because there would be like this energy and this verve at the house party itself where you'd be kind of jumping and bounding from room to room, story to story. I'm thinking of stories like Can't Hardly Wait or like 10 Things I Hate About You. And this party meant everything to them because it was gonna, of course, it was like the last party of the summer or the last party of the school year. And like everything that you ever wanted to say or do was gonna come down finally to this one epic night where all your dreams hopefully came true. And so the chance to kind of create that atmosphere again, but on the page was a challenge that really kept me going during the pandemic. It's a story that I developed during the pandemic as kind of a response to like just wanting to want one missing people, and then two just like wanting joy. And there's something about rom-coms, like I love rom-coms, even the quote unquote bad ones, because I think there's something to be said for like knowing that no matter what happens, there's a silver lining to be had. There's love at the end, and that's the world that I want to live in. And so those are the stories that I want to create. Even my stories that talk about very difficult subjects, I hope that at the end you feel imbued with hope and faith that things can get better, even in small ways, even sometimes in ways that we may not feel on a day-to-day basis.
That was Justin A. Reynolds discussing his writing as well as his early influences. In addition to writing books, Reynolds is now working with a team adapting one of his novels into a movie.